So, you've worked on famous series like Star Trek and Garfield. What was that like compared to writing your own books?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a very different type of project. Like when I'm making my own book, I can write anything I want. I can imagine anything. I can build the characters myself. And if I want to make a character, go bungee jumping, I can do it. Sometimes I'm working on nonfiction where it's a true story, and then I have to interview people and uh, you know have them give feedback to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's guest is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to some guy who I know that's the most adventurous and creative person. So, he's a Freeman Award-winning Eisner-nominated artist, author, and adventurer. Let me just introduce our next guest. The one, the only, the amazing Ryan Estrada!
Hello, I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited about all the jobs that I've done. I'm mainly known as a comic artist, a cartoonist, but I have lived many lives and done many jobs in my travels around the world. Because when you make a comic, you can live anywhere you want, and when you do that, strange things happen. You have new experiences.
Okay, so your bio said that you were a graphic novel artist that's worked on Star Trek, Popeye, Flash Gordon, and even Garfield. That sounds just amazing. So, can you explain to us exactly what a graphic novel artist does? Do they just do the drawings, or do they also write the story?
Well, graphic novel is just a type of comic. I make comic books, and the types that I make right now are just the type you see in books. A graphic novel doesn't mean it's fancy or anything, it's just something about the length of a book. And so they're writing and drawing are two different aspects of it. You can do either one. Usually, I write everything that I work on, and sometimes I draw them. I am an artist, but I work on so many books that sometimes I bring on other artists to draw them, either because I'm busy working on another book or because someone else is just right for it. Because, like, we did a book called Banned Book Club that's about Korean history, and I felt weird drawing it. I thought it was better if a Korean artist uh, illustrated it. Um, but like we did a sequel to that is about my wife's experiences, and it's a more personal story about her friends. So we thought it was better if I drew it with her in the room. Every project is different, and we get the artist that's just right for it. But my favorite part of the process is writing and building stories.
So, what got you interested in the world of comic books?
I wish I could tell you, but I don't remember because I started making comics before I could talk or remember anything. Because my mom says that I learned to speak so that I could tell her I was going to be a professional cartoonist. And eventually, I would just make fill notebooks with comics every single day. And eventually, I decided, you know what? I've been doing this long enough. It's time to go pro. I need to get a job doing this. Uh, I was 6 years old. I know you know something about starting a career early, but yeah, at 6 years old, I was very lucky that no one told me, "Hey, you can't do that. No one's going to hire you. You're six." Everyone in my life was just very warm and friendly and said, "Yeah, we'll help however we can." And I went to the library. I got a book on pitching your work to newspapers, and I sent out a packet to every newspaper and magazine I could think of. Most people didn't answer, but the newspaper in my neighborhood sent me this very polite note that said, "Oh yeah, we'll keep your work on file," which to them meant you're six, leave us alone. I'm sure, but to me, I was like, I'm in the file. That's like the next step before you get the job. They're gonna hire me for sure. And so I kept bothering them every single year. I'd send them new comics every year, sometimes more than once a year, and just be like, "Hey, I'm working on something new. Add it to the file." And finally, 10 years of me bothering them later, they said, okay, you know what, fine, we'll hire you. They made a whole new section of the newspaper with articles and comics by kids just so that they could hire me and get me to leave them alone. And so I started my professional career at 16, and I've been going ever since.
Nice. So, what was the first comic character that you ever made?
That first one I pitched at 6 was called Paw Prints, and it was about a family of dogs. There was the main character. His name was Dusty D Dog, and his father was called Worrywart, and he had a boy genius little brother called Einstein. It was a terrible, terrible comic. But eventually, the one that got published was called Pet Peeves, and it was just about a family and their pets. And the main character was an orange cat who's too lazy to chase mice. And that's because, as someone who had been obsessed with being a cartoonist and reading comics since he was a baby, that was my only life experience, is reading other comics. I didn't know you could make comics about your own life because my life was just reading comics. So I just ripped off Garfield. And but eventually I started traveling the world once I realized that I could do comics anywhere, and I started meeting new people. I started having adventures. I started getting into wild situations, like the time I was nearly eaten by lions, the time I was thrown from a moving train by the police, the time I slept on a park bench in a typhoon. And even if I don't make comics about those specific experiences, they inspire me to, let's think broader, and let's there's so much to the world we can make comics about. So I got to make comics about many different things, but recently I got hired to write actual Garfield comics, so those early experiences still got to come together to influence my work.
So, you've worked on famous series like Star Trek and Garfield. What was that like compared to writing your own books?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a very different type of project. Like when I'm making my own book, like I can write anything I want. I can imagine anything. I can build the characters myself. And if I want to make a character, go bungee jumping, I can do it. Sometimes I'm working on nonfiction where it's a true story, and then I have to interview people and uh, you know have them give feedback to it. But it's I decided to tell that story. But if I'm working on like Garfield, there's a whole team of people that own the rights to Garfield, that edit Garfield, and they often they'll tell me what to write. They'll say, okay, write a story where Garfield does this, and then I have a lot of freedom from there. But they have to check it and be like, actually, Garfield would never say that, or we don't think Garfield should do this, or sometimes it's Garfield's going to do this later, so don't do it in your comic or it'll spoil the one we're making. So there's a lot more people involved when you're working on someone else's comic. But I've been very lucky that all the ones I've worked on, I got a lot of freedom. I know people that do them where they have zero freedom, where like I know people that do comics about TV shows where every single actor has to okay every drawing. Oh, I look ugly in that one. Don't make me look ugly. And it's they have to redo stuff a lot. I've been very lucky that people let me get weird with mine.
Okay, so you've been nominated for an Eisner Award. I mean, that's like the Oscars of comics. What did that feel like?
It was amazing. I like I said, I've been making comics for over 40 years now, and like a lot of them nobody ever read, nobody ever noticed. But when we did a book called Banned Book Club, uh that's the story about my wife's real experiences smuggling books illegally under a dictator, and people just really reacted to it, and I was shocked. But the really shocking thing was my wife, who never wanted to make comics at all. She was never interested in making comics. She thought it's like a nerdy thing her husband does. But when we were hired to make a book about her experiences, I said, "Oh, well, you're going to be the co-author because it's your story." And so this is her first book, and like all of a sudden she starts winning, like not just that award, but winning all sorts of awards, being nominated for awards, being flown out all over the world. She just like, wow, this bookmaking thing is easy. I'm like, it's not usually. I've been doing this for 40 years. So really happy that people are responding to the things that we're making now.
So, do you prefer writing stories, drawing art, or combining both?
Writing is the part that I love. Like, even though people know me as a cartoonist, for me, that's the part that's work. Like, just drawing a book that you can read in half an hour takes like 2 years of my life. And like by the end of it, when I finish a book, like my back hurts, my wrist hurts, my arm, because I'm like, people always say cartoonists have like shrimp neck because we're always like hunched over, and then I have to like re-straighten my spine. But comics, writing them or writing anything, I can write something while I'm riding my bike while I'm on a bus. Like I don't do my writing at the table. I get on my bike and I ride. Like I once rode from Busan to Seoul, from one side of Korea to the other. I rode my bike for a week, and while I'm going, I'm just thinking of ideas and writing scripts in my head, and I can't wait to get home and type it up. That's the part that's exciting for me because anything can happen.
Okay, so Ryan, your book Banned Book Club was a huge hit. Can you tell us like ah my eyes my eyes just like blanked out for a second. Sorry.
Switch it. In 3, 2.
So Ryan, your book Banned Book Club was a huge hit. Can you like tell us what it's about and why you wanted to tell that story?
Well, this is a story that I didn't know. I had known my wife for over a decade. We've been married for years. And one day she had met up with some friends from college the day before. Her and I were walking up a mountain together, and she casually says, "Oh, yeah, it reminded me of back when I used to be hunted by the police for smuggling illegal books." And I'm like, "Wait, when you what? Back up. Um, what did you do?" And she's like, "Ah, no big deal. This that would the cops didn't like those books, and we had to whatever." And so I posted about that on social media. A publisher saw it and offered us a book deal. And at first, I asked her like, "Do you think there's enough story to make a whole book out of it?" And she's like, "Not really. We just read books." But every follow up question I asked her, I'm like, "You did what? Wait, who? How? When?" And I realized there's so much story there. And at first, I was just excited to make a book about my cool life. Like I didn't even know people were going to respond to it because when we started in 2017, like we thought we were writing about history. The reason our publisher was interested is because she was shocked at the idea that Korea had only been 30 years away from having state banned books, because she's like, you can't do that in a democracy. But then by the time the book came out, a lot of the things happening in the book started happening again in America. And so many books were being banned that by the time our book came out, our book became a banned book and was banned in 3 US states. So a lot of people started responding to it being like, "Oh, this is happening right now in America.
Wow.
Why don't we learn about how people fixed it in the past?"
Okay. So if a kid wanted to grow up and make comic books and graphic novels, what advice would you give him or her?
The best thing to do is just to make comics. Don't wait for permission. Never say I'm an aspiring cartoonist or I want to be a cartoonist, because it's not like being a doctor. It's not like being a lawyer, like where you need certification. If you want to be an artist, guess what? You're an artist. So sit down and make a book. And the biggest thing to do is make the comics that only you can make, whatever kind of art you want to do. If you want to make shows, if you want to make music, make the art that only you can make. Because when you say you want to be a cartoonist, everyone will be like, "Oh, well, you got to make superhero comics because that's what sells." But if you make superhero comics, you're competing with every person in the world who does that, is amazing at it, and is passionate about it. If I made a superhero comic, it would not be great. But no one else in the world is making books about my wife's experiences being hunted by cops. That I have no competition. Student ambassador is inspired by my own experiences when I was your age, being a student ambassador and traveling to Australia. No one else is making that comic. Make something that you're passionate about. Whatever your hobby is, make a book about that. Like if you host an interview show, you could make a book about what it's like to host an interview show, or like make a book about you're doing an interview show and someone is murdered on camera and you have to solve the mystery, or a rom-com about two guests that fall in love while they're on your show. Like take something from your life and turn it into a story.
Okay, that's some good stories. But you know what? Here it just seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear it from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut. That's a wrap. Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we're back here with Ryan Estrada, the man of many adventures. Okay, so Ryan, I read your bio, and well, some of it sounds just crazy. I mean, it said that you were a ghostbuster in South Korea, skinny dipped with piranhas, and was even kidnapped in Cambodia? How do you find the time to just work and visit all over the world?
Yeah, so like I said, because I make comics through the internet, I can go anywhere that I want. And so I got to the point where I would like look on YouTube and see a video of a sloth and be like, huh, I want to move to Costa Rica. And I'd move to Costa Rica. A lot of people thought that was because I was really rich making comics. And I'm like, no, I can't afford to live in America. But if I can get to Costa Rica, I can like have my own private beach house for like $100 a month. And so I got to travel to all these places, and all the adventures happened just because I was very bad at it. I didn't do any research, and I would get into a lot of trouble. Like the time that I went to Africa, and I was meeting my sister who's a zoologist, and she said, go fly to this airport and get on this bus. And I'm like, that's all I need to know. And I get there and realize like, oh, I don't even realize how long I'm supposed to stay on this bus. It could be an hour. It could be 2 days. And then it took me way out in the middle of nowhere to this town that was so small. It was like smaller than the room that you're in. And I got bored. So I just went for a walk. And I didn't realize that I was in the middle of the Masai Mara, which is basically where the Lion King takes place, but the other side of the border. And it's illegal to walk around there. But I didn't know that. And then I got lost and nearly eaten by lions, and was walking around with hyenas, and like couldn't find my way back because it's all desert. I don't try to get in those situations. I was just very ill prepared.
Huh. So how do you adjust to each of these events?
Well, when I was your age, I was always stressed out. I was always worried about what could go wrong. And it like I said before that like I never left my house. I stayed home and read comics. And I'm like, if I go out, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. But the first time I started traveling, I ended up going on a trip to Japan where I was stranded in the country. There was a problem with my visa. I couldn't leave. And then I ran out of money because I just moved abroad, like right out of college, and didn't have any money. I hadn't paid for my job yet. I ended up having to sleep on a park bench in a typhoon with the flu. And like literally, like this was a major news event in the country. Like people died, like buildings were damaged. And I was sleeping on a park bench and throwing up, and I felt so sorry for myself. I'm like, everything has gone wrong. And all of a sudden a kitten came and sat on my chest and fell asleep. And for some reason that I thought that was so funny and so strange. I started laughing, and I realized this is the worst day of my life, but I'm fine. Like if I can handle this, I can handle anything. And I realized like that was decades ago. I'm still telling the story today. And I realized that like my job is telling stories. So if something goes wrong, who cares? I'll have a story to tell. So now it's the opposite. If I do something and everything goes right, I'm like, well, that was boring. What am I going to say on a podcast about this? I can't make a comic about this. So if you reframe your mind that like stories are currency, stories are good. If things go wrong, I can fix them and I can tell stories about it. It makes life so much less stressful. Now my wife is the opposite, so it gives her more stress that I'm not worried. But just live life enjoying the experiences. That's my advice.
So what's the most misunderstood part about your job that people just don't get?
Well, a lot of people they think comics are a really easy job. They're like, I love making art, so it must be very simple. And a lot of people don't want to pay artists because they're like, oh well, why would I pay for an artist when it's something you love doing. I'm like, I love making my art, but if I make something for you or I make a comic for your business, it's going to destroy a piece of my soul because I'm doing that instead of something I love. And even making comics, the comics I love, I mentioned earlier, sorry, I mentioned earlier that my body is ruined after the fact. I have to like go soak in a spa and sometimes like get treatment on my back. Like after I finished my last book, I had to like spend a few days in the hospital getting my back fixed because I was hunched over a desk for 2 years. It's even though I love doing it, it's a lot of work. So give us that money.
So what's the best advice that you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Um, yeah, I don't remember how I got the idea, but the one of the best things I've ever done, I call it the Not My Jam challenge. Um, and what that is, it's not like Jim Carrey and Yes Man where you have to say yes to anything. But if I ever catch myself turning down an experience because it's not my jam, it's not my thing, it's not the kind of thing that I do, I have to do it. Like if it's offensive, it's too expensive, it's too dangerous, I'm not doing it. But if it's something that I could reasonably do and I just don't feel like it because I've never done that kind of thing, I have to do it. So, like sometimes it's just, do you want to go see this movie? I don't like that kind of movie. Oh, well, why not? And then I end up realizing I like it or I hate it, but the thinking about the reason I hate it makes my work better. Sometimes it's like I was invited to tell a story on stage, and I'm like, oh, I don't talk in front of people. I make books, and then so I caught myself saying no, and I said, well, now I got to do it. And I told the story on stage and realized I love doing that, and I started traveling the world telling stories on stage, and then that led to someone saying, hey. You're good up there. We need someone extra for Shakespeare. Do you want to do Shakespeare? And I'm like, no, I don't really. Sure, let's do it. And I realized I love that. And I started doing radio. I started directing radio. I started working at the radio station. I started acting. I got to be an extra in K dramas and Indian movies, all because they weren't my kind of thing. And I realized, oh, I really enjoy this, and they became my thing. So I don't remember where it came from, but my advice is try new things, get out of your comfort zone, and do something really weird that you never thought you'd do.
So why would a kid listening today want to grow up and do your job?
Well, my job is something that you do because you have to. Like I mentioned, it's always been my obsession. I had to do this job. If you want to be a cartoonist, don't do it for the money because sometimes there is no money. Even if I've been lucky in that I've gotten a lot of jobs that do pay me enough to make a living. But when you finish that, it's not like it's not like a steady career where, okay, well, let's do work today. Let's do work today. You can do a big best-selling book, but then you still got to sell the next one. And sometimes like I mentioned that nobody really read my comics until I made that book with my wife. I was in my 40s when that happened. So it took a long time, and no two artists that I know have ever found a way to make a living the same way. Everyone has to find their own way and what works for them. And you can make it work, but in order to do that, you have to have the passion to keep doing it, even when it's difficult and even when you don't know how you're gonna make a living at it. Sometimes you have to have a day job while you're doing it. But for the people that want to be artists and want to be storytellers, they don't have to make that choice because they know that that's what they love doing and they can't do anything else. And that's been me my entire life, is that this is what I do and I can't stop because my brain naturally writes stories anyway. Like when I'm on a bus, I have to wear headphones or else I'll come up with 10 new books I want to make. And I'm like, no, I have to finish the 43 I'm working on already.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about custom designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius!
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back here with Ryan Estrada, adventurer and artist. So, what skills should a teen start learning if they want to do your job?
Like I said, just make comics. You're going to learn everything you do from just making the art that you want to make. And again, not everything I do is comics. I also write novels. I write audio dramas and things. Just write as much as you can. Come with as many ideas that you can. The one people don't think about is learning business. Like, I wished I had learned more business when I was younger, because you're going to have to you're basically doing two jobs. You're making the comics and you're running the business of making comics and figuring out how to make a career of it, and then, do your own taxes and do your own accounting and things. You can get an agent, but still you have to handle all of that yourself. There's no like payroll that's sending you out your paychecks and figuring everything out for you. Later, but like you're gonna have to do a lot of math and doing your own accounting. So just the art's gonna come from your own practice, and then don't forget the other things that you're gonna need as well.
So do you think AI has a positive role in your industry at all? Or are you worried it might take over parts of a job and cost people a living?
Well, the problem that's happening with AI is that it's not taking jobs, because it does such a bad job that they have to hire people to fix it. But what they're doing is they're creating something that doesn't work, and it's created by stealing art from other people and stealing writing from other people and just kind of remixing it, and then putting out something that doesn't work, and then they hire someone else to fix it, which is harder than writing something yourself. Like I said, coming up with ideas is joy for me. It's excitement. But if I'm fixing something that doesn't work, it's drudgery and it takes longer. But because they're not writing, they're editing, they're paying people a tiny fraction of the price. So it's not replacing people. It's just giving people with money an excuse to pay them a lot less and it's already very difficult to make a living in the arts. So it's just making it even harder.
So what was the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
I have made so many mistakes. I started a comic series about my life, and it's called Ryan Made Mistakes, because I mentioned a lot of them here. Like, I wasn't supposed to nearly get eaten by lions. I wasn't supposed to be thrown from a moving train. But every one of my mistakes has made my life better. All of the good things have happened from mistakes. Let me say that a big one was that when I was probably about your age, I won $1 million in a Taco Bell contest, a collect and win contest, but I actually threw away the game piece. And I literally threw $1 million in the trash. And at that time, I was mortified. I thought it was like my life would never recover from this terrible mistake. I threw away $1 million. But then I came to realize that, like, wait, if I had been a millionaire as a teenager, I never would have I never would have had to move to Korea to make money after college. I never would have met my wife. I never would have written the books that I made. I never would have met the friends I made. I never would have had the career that I made. And I love what I do right now so much. My life is worth I don't have $1 million, but my life is worth far more than $1,000,000 because I love every moment of it. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Not only will mistakes lead to better things, uh, again by mistake, but you might realize that like I got something even better than what I lost.
So, Ryan, what do you do for fun when you're not looking at writing the next story?
Uh, One of my biggest hobbies is doing cross country bike trips. I mentioned riding my bike from Busan to Seoul earlier. Uh, I love doing it in Korea because you can literally ride your bike from one side of the country to the other and never see a car, and just ride along rivers and through bamboo forests and things. I am very much not in shape because I'm a cartoonist. I sit at my desk all day, but it's riding a bike is just freedom. I also like geocaching. I don't know if you know what that is. Yeah, I actually, it's kind of like died in Korea. Like no one else is doing it. Like no one else is hiding. Someone told me I'm the only person still doing it. But in my city, I set up like a network of For those that don't know, it's like people hide things around the world, little like secret treasure chests. Some are very small, some are very big. You can trade things, you sign in, and it just allows you to see your city in a new light. Like you go, it's an excuse to go somewhere you've never been and look at the world in ways that like they're hidden in like public places that no one has like for it to be hidden, it has to be a place that no one has looked in like 20 years. And so you see places that no one else sees, and it's fun, and I like doing that.
So, do you play video games? And if so, what's your favorite one?
I haven't played video games in a long time. So I, when I was about your age, I was super into Super Mario World. That was the big one. And then I had this goal of um, getting to what's that super secret world? There's like Star World or something, and Cloud World something. There's like this goal that if you beat every level in every way, and I had spent years doing it, and the at the very I had like one left to do, and my brother, as a prank, deleted my save game. I've been working for years on accomplishing this goal, and I was so heartbroken I gave up video games. And then I stopped for years, and then I finally, when I started traveling, I bought a Game Boy Advance. Was brand new back then, long time ago, and I bought Super Mario World for that. And I'm like, I'm gonna redo everything that I couldn't do. Um, and I redid it all, and I found out that the new version had one more thing. There were dragon coins. If you could collect all the dragon coins, and I'm like, now I have a new goal, and so I got them all but one, and then I mentioned I slept on a park bench in a typhoon. Another of my mistakes. Um, the way I the way I got money to get out was I had to sell my Game Boy to get out of there
No.
before I got that last dragon coin. So then I'm like, you know what? I've ruined this twice. I'm done.
No. You have to finish the game now. It's your job to now. Man. So,
But then who knows what disaster is going to happen to ruin this shot.
oh, that's so true. Okay, you know what? That was a great story. You know what? What's the next craziest thing that you want to do?
Well, what I love about my experiences is I don't plan any of them. I love when something happens that I never would have imagined. So I hope that I don't hope for bad things. I don't want I don't want to be thrown from a moving train again. I don't want to be set on fire again. Like I don't want any of these happen. But if they happen, I am gonna tell that story for the rest of my life and be excited about it. So yeah, I hope something really unexpected happens. But there's a lot of places in the world I haven't traveled yet, and I want to get out there and do more of that and see what happens, as opposed to try and make something happen.
Alright, so where's the best place for teens to follow you online? Like Facebook, YouTube?
Well, if you go to ryanestrada.com, all my social media is linked there, so you can grab whatever social media you want. And there are thousands of pages of free comics you can read there right now. I'm a terrible businessman. I'm selling comics, but all the old ones are totally free. So just go there to see what I do and see where you can follow what's next.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I've alluded to a lot of wild stories. Are there any of them that I've said of crazy experiences I've had that you want to know more about? and then I'll tell you that story.
I think we've got a lot. I think we had a lot of stories, but
Yeah.
what about the piranha one? Like that piranha one, it reminds me a lot of Wednesday Addams like stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was in the Amazon River. I had hired a local guide, and he took us out in this boat. We were deep in the Amazon. This wasn't like a luxury tour. We were like literally we'd have to like get out and like push the boat sometimes to get it out of the mud. And the guide is just like he's like 6 years old. He's been doing this his whole life. And he told us, "Oh, you want to go swimming?" And so I did. And I at that time I was doing a YouTube series where people could give me missions and I'd solve them around the world. And someone had jokingly suggested skinny dipping with piranhas as a joke. They thought I'd never do it. And then he showed us there are piranhas there. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's be funny in the YouTube video. And because like he said, like they don't bite humans. Like he should like he threw meat and we saw them like destroy it. Like, but he's like, they're not gonna bother you. So I jumped in and then like just waved my shorts over my head and got in and quickly got back in. But I mean, it's really nice. They didn't come near me at all. They're like, "What is this thing? We don't usually have these in this water, like this giant dude." And then because I trusted this guy, he said it was fine. But then later, this guy took us out to the same spot and pulled a baby crocodile out of the water. And I'm like, "There are crocodiles in here?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You didn't tell me that." He's like, "No big deal. They were sleeping." I'm like, "Yeah, here. I could have kicked one in the head, And he's like, "It's just a baby." I'm like, "Yeah. Where's its mom?" So I really shouldn't have trusted this guy. And then also afterward, he took us to his house when we got back. And I found out he taught all his children to smoke because his witch doctor told him that it was good for their health. And I'm like, "You're the guy that I trusted with my life?" I get there and there's this like 3-year-old baby sitting there like smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, "Oh no, I trusted this man with my life and went skin dipping with piranha in a crocodile river."
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, Ryan, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
of course.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And thank you, Ryan, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're just more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding problems for me to solve, and this week, we're actually going to do a word problem that has to do with graphing paper and graphs. And this is an actual problem that was on my friend's geometry homework, okay? So Timmy has a lemonade stand, but wants his logo to be something very like geometry and math-like. So he makes his logo like a graph, making sure that his logo is completely symmetrical. He wrote every single dot in line with points and graph paper. He made an isosceles trapezoid with two sides of equal length in one set of parallel lines. There are 4 points, A, B, C, and D. If AB was congruent to CD, what would BD be congruent to?
I'm gonna let you handle this one because when I was your age, I was in all of the advanced math classes. I took advanced placement trigonometry, and now I don't remember what trigonometry is. I uh, I I realized later that I should have held on to it because, like, as a cartoonist, you do have to do a lot of math and like planning things because, like, when I drew my last book. I was drawing so big that I would draw my panels on 3 different pieces of paper and fit them together. And then after I finished the whole book, I found I'd done my math wrong, and I had to fix every single page because I made them too long and I had to squeeze them down. So I want to hear how you solve this problem, because clearly I can't, because I gave myself an extra month of work by doing my math wrong in my own book that I planned.
Well, first, this is a real world problem because as people who draw and stuff, we have to be precise and, know what to draw at the exact time. So, to solve this problem, we have to look at a graph. What we look at is a trapezoid. We notice that there's 4 sides. 2 are equal length but are angled, while we have 2 uneven sides but are parallel to each other. So if A and B and C and D are equal, we would know that they are the 2 angled sides. Then we look at the 2 uneven sides and realize that there aren't any lines that are congruent to BD because CA and BD are different lengths. That makes sense?
All right. Sure.
So, Ryan, do you have to graph paper when making your artwork?
Yeah, I don't really use graph paper when I do my comics, but I do have to use math to figure out how big it's going to be, because when you draw, you usually like to draw bigger than it's going to end up in the book itself. If you draw the same size, they're going to see all the imperfections, but you draw big, you shrink it down, it looks much better. So often, because I don't want to have to buy giant sheets of paper and buy a giant scanner, especially when you travel in the world, you can't bring a giant scanner around with you. So I usually draw on 3 different pieces of paper and then turn them sideways and stack them together when I scan it. But then I have to do the math of how big can each one be. And as I mentioned, I've gotten that wrong in the past, but what I helps me is I'll digitally design a grid that is just the types of panels that I use, and then I'll do that in like light blue, and then I can draw on top of that later.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for your help with Math Corners.
All right.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions and acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. And the qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. So last week, we had a bowling match. Yeah, it's true. I'm in high school now, and I'm going to Cornerstone Charter Academy, but due to the school not having a bowling team, I am having the pleasure to sit out bowling for East River High School. It was a great first match. We went against Boone High School and Freedom. We bowled 2 regular games, in which we had 5 bowlers bowled 2 games each, bowled 3 Baker-style games, and we add up all the scores together and see who won, which we did by over 700 pins. We shot 2,556 pins for our total, and you must be wondering where nobility comes into all this. This actually comes in from when I was on my way there. Now, I take an Uber from school, but the person who really helps with the scheduling them and planning them to be on time is my mom. My mom helped a lot with this because we do Uber Eats a lot, and we can say it's a tough job. And she's being noble by even telling the drivers who they're driving, and that it's important that I get there on time so that they take the fastest routes there. She's really helpful in trying to overcome the time difference of being on time or being really, really late. So, Ryan, do you have an example of nobility that you saw this week?
Yeah, this week I'm at the Busan International Film Festival. It's the biggest film festival in Asia, and it's amazing. I'm getting to meet a lot of celebrities and filmmakers, and a lot of times those filmmakers are just they don't want to talk to anybody. Especially when you meet big actors, they're like, they get in, they get out, and they're like, don't talk to me. But a few days ago, I went to a screening with Guillermo del Toro. Do you know who that is? Mexican filmmaker. He won Oscar for Shape of Water. He did Pacific Rim, Blade, Pinocchio, his new movie's Frankenstein. He is a legend in filmmaking, especially filmmakers revere him like a king, especially people from Mexico, which my family's from Mexico. And so people love him. So he could have every right to be just like the people I mentioned. But I went to the screening. I couldn't get a ticket. They sold out in seconds. So there's a waiting line where you can wait, and if someone doesn't show up, you get in the line. And then you miss the first 15 minutes of the movie, you can get in. So I'm in that line. I got there 45 minutes early to make sure I got in. Guillermo del Toro walked by to go to his own screening, saw me waiting, and gave me one of his personal tickets that he had for his friends and let me in. And I was so thankful for that. And I didn't really get a chance to talk to him because he was in a rush. And I thought, I think because he gave me his ticket, I can go up and thank him and use that as an excuse to be able to talk to him, because that's a rare chance. But I realized I didn't need to do that, because before the screening went up, he went on stage and said, "Thank you all for coming. I want to talk to every single one of you and sign a poster for you. I'm going to afterward line up and I will sign for everyone." And the staff of the theater is like, "Wait, what? We didn't know that was going to happen." This is in an IMAX theater. There are 500 people in this room. And afterward, they're like, "He promised. I guess we got to let him." That theater was open until 3 o'clock in the morning. No one could go home, and no one left because they all wanted to meet him. And he took time to talk to every single person, including me, and have a conversation with them and give them a book. And that is something that people rarely do. And I think that is incredibly noble to have 500 people in the room who desperately want to talk to you and take the time to talk to every single person like they're your friend. We all felt like he was our friend afterwards. So for me, that was my moment.
But we should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Ryan Estrada for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about your work as an adventurer and a graphic novel artist.
It was great to chat with you. I'm excited to talk about the many weird things that I do. So thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, well, do you mind giving your social media and website again for the people that want to follow you?
Just type my name in, go to ryanestrada.com. You'll find me on Blue Sky and Facebook and YouTube and all sorts of places, but it's all linked to on that website.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490AM, Canton 98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Bay TV, and all the other stations that air on my show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And Ryan, are you subscribed yet?
Of course.
Nice. Oh, and this week, CD12 Gaming YT says fire, and Luke CP 1240 says keep it going, TB. Well, thank you so much, Luke, for your support. And be sure to leave a comment on my videos, and I might even mention yours at the end of the show. And also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.